Michael Jordan won 6 championships. He was named the greatest of all time. But here's the question. Was he free? The world saw dominance. He experienced necessity. Winning wasn't achievement, it was survival. What we're analyzing here isn't his success. It's the psychological architecture that required it. So what does it cost to build your entire identity on a scoreboard that never stops running? Jordan fused his self-worth to performance early. Losing didn't feel like failure. It felt like erasure. This is what psychologists call a foreclosed identity. Your sense of self locks onto a single dimension. You don't choose it consciously, but once it forms, everything else becomes noise. For Jordan, that dimension was winning. Competition wasn't about glory. It was a regulatory tool, a way to avoid the void of not winning. In 1995, he returned from baseball. The Bulls lost to Orlando in the playoffs. Watch the footage. He doesn't look disappointed. He looks destabilized. He didn't just want to win the next year. He needed to. The training that followed wasn't discipline. It was containment. Endless practice kept him inside the structure where he knew who he was. Outside of it, there was only uncertainty, and Jordan couldn't tolerate uncertainty, so he manufactured it into something he could control. He invented slights. He created enemies. Teammates became opponents in practice. Why? Because ambiguity was unbearable. A clear adversary meant a clear identity. The hostility wasn't about standards, it was about control. He punched Steve Kerr in practice. He berated teammates publicly. The explanation people gave was that he demanded excellence. But the mechanism was different. He needed everyone in the system to validate the scoreboard. If they didn't compete at his level, the structure collapsed. And without the structure, he had no reference point for who he was. Relationships became transactional. Friendship threatened the purity of competition, so he kept distance. Not because he was cold, because closeness introduced variables he couldn't measure. After championships, there was no relief. Just the immediate question, what now? The scoreboard reset. And so did the anxiety. Other players celebrated. Jordan looked for the next opponent. The space between victory and the next game had no structure, and without structure, the identity destabilized. The Hall of Fame speech is the clearest window into this. Most inductees express gratitude, reflect on the journey. Jordan kept score, he called out old rivals, he relitigated decades-old slights. The audience laughed uncomfortably, but he wasn't joking. He was still inside the game, because the identity never updated. Retirement didn't end it. He bought a team, he played golf for money. He turned every interaction into a contest. The mechanism that produced 6 rings also prevented him from ever leaving the game psychologically. The brain treats winning like oxygen when identity depends on it. You don't pursue it, you require it. And when the game ends, the need doesn't. So what does it mean to win like that? It means the scoreboard never turns off. Not after 6 rings. Not after retirement. Not ever. Jordan's success wasn't freedom. It was containment. The world saw champion. He experienced a system he couldn't escape. The mechanism that made him untouchable also made him psychologically dependent on the thing he dominated. Winning wasn't the goal. It was the only way to avoid collapse. No lesson here, no advice, just the recognition. This is what it looks like when identity and performance fuse completely. You can't separate the person from the scoreboard, because without the scoreboard, there is no person. Jordan is still keeping score, still finding opponents, still trapped inside the thing that made him the greatest. For some minds, winning isn't a peak. It's a life support system. He won everything, but he never got out.